minute. Good evening, everyone. I declare the meeting of the Ordinary Council meeting for June of the Shire of Derby, West Kimberley now open at 5:30 p.m. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Shire of Derby, West Kimberley acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout the Shire and the continued connection to the land, waters and community. The Shire would like to pay our respects to the people, the cultures and the elders past and present, and the continuation of cultural, spiritual and educational practices of Aboriginal people. This meeting will be video recorded and live streamed on the Shire's YouTube channel, with the exception of confidential items and periods of adjournments as determined by the presiding member. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their voice and or image may be live streamed to the public. Recordings will also be made available on the Shire's YouTube channel and official website following the meeting. The official record of the meeting will be written minutes kept in accordance with the Local Government Act of 1995 and any relevant regulations. Attendance and apologies. I have no apologies. Attendance, I have Deputy President Carissa O'Meara, Councillor Trish Galt, Councillor Adam Cornish, Councillor Lockie Carraher, Councillor Leah Umberguy, and on attendance via electronic means is Councillor Laurie Shaw. Councillor Val Ross, councillors will recall, has an ongoing leave of absence at this point, previously applied for and approved. In the room, staff in the room are Tamara Clarkson, Chief Executive Officer, Wayne Neate, Director of Infrastructure, Jill Brazil, Director of Corporate Services, Luke Lawrence, Director of Community Planning, Robert Barrett, Manager Assets and Works, Aaron Glore, Manager of Corporate Services, Ryan Balderson, Executive Assistant, Colleen Balderson, Executive Assistant, and Jessie Canow, Assistant Coordinator. Responses to previous public questions taken on notice, we have nil. Public time, public question time, public statements, we have nil. Disclosures of interest, Division 6, Subdivision 1 of the Local Government Act 1995. Care should be taken by council members to ensure that a financial impartiality, proximity interest are declared and that they refrain from voting on any matter which is considered to come within the ambit of the Act. Do I have any? I have no. Is yours financial?
Yes.
I have one declaration of financial interest, and that is from our CEO and relates to the item 20.1 CEO performance review. CEO will leave the room when we're discussing and voting on that item. The other one I have is from Ryan Balderson from staff. It's one of impartiality in reference to item 20.1, concerns of performance review and recommendations regarding the CEO who is their direct line manager. I have one item of impartiality, which is myself, is in relation to item 20.2 in the confidential section, and that is because my wife is a member of the organisation that is seeking rates exemptions. Thank you. Any other declarations of financial impartiality or proximity, councillors? Nil. Thank you. Petitions, deputations, presentations and submissions, we have none. Recommendation item 11, that council confirm the minutes of the ordinary council meeting held the 21st of May 2026 at the council chambers 31 Clarendon Street, Derby. Further, I'll do that one. Yeah, thanks, individually. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Galt. Seconded. Councillor Umberguy. Questions, clarifications? Nil. All those in favour, raise your hands, please. Thanks, Laurie. Carried 7-0. Further recommendation that council confirm the minutes of the special council meeting held the 11th of June 2026 at the council chambers 31 Clarendon Street, Derby. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt. Seconded. Councillor O'Meara. Any questions or clarifications? Nil. All in favour, please raise your hands. 7-0, thank you. Announcements by presiding person without discussion. Councillors, along with my attendance at all council briefings, meetings with our executive officer and informal contact and communication with our community, I have undertaken the following meetings and engagements on behalf of council. The CEO and I attended the Kimberley Regional Group meeting held in Derby on the 27th of May. Agenda and minutes of this meeting have been distributed to council via Teams. I've noticed the Kimberley Regional Group waste strategy, which continues to progress and which we have highlighted the need for this to include the issues around the lack of any known water corporation plans to complete much needed deep sewer infrastructure in Kimberley towns, and the major impact on our community having solid/liquid waste transported to Water Corporation's liquid waste facility in Broome due to the closure of the Derby liquid waste facility, and only 2/3 of Derby having access to deep sewer, and similar issues in Fitzroy Crossing. On the evening of the 27th of May, I attended the Kimberley Economic Forum Sundowner, which was a great event opener for the Kimberley Economic Forum. Following this, it was wonderful to be joined by the Honourable Stephen Dawson, MLC, Minister for the Kimberley, and Davina Deanna, our member for Kimberley, Honorary Freeman of the City of the Shire, Al Sriracha, and fellow councillors from our council and other Kimberley Shires, to present to Mrs Rosita Lovell and family the posthumous Honorary Freeman of the Shire of Derby West Kimberley Award to Sam Lovell, AO. This was a deeply rewarding experience for all who attended, I'm sure. We look forward to Rosita representing Sam and joining us at future Shire and community events. On the 28th and 29th of June, I attended the Kimberley Economic Forum, and it was great to see the many visitors and speakers who attended this event in Derby. It was a good opportunity to meet others from our region and those from elsewhere and hear their views on events and issues impacting our region. The Derby Chamber of Commerce are to be congratulated on the efficient running of this significant event and showcasing Derby and our Shire. I also take this opportunity to congratulate and thank our CEO and staff that provided support and actively engaged and assisted in the weeks prior to and throughout this 3-day program, helping it to make it the success it was. Early Tuesday morning on the 28th of May, I joined our member for Kimberley, Davina Deanna, Councillors Galt and Cornish, our CEO and our major project delivery, Steve Ross, to receive the Lottery West grant certificate announcing the commencement of Derby Civic Centre improvement works, which includes installing much needed air conditioning and accessibility improvements, which is a significant step for our asset management plan, and we are very grateful to Lottery West for their support. On the 2nd of June, the CEO and I met with Shelley Kneebone, CEO of Derby Aboriginal Health Services. We discussed local and regional issues around housing and staffing and possible future joint advocacy on these and similar issues. There is positive advancement of the $8+ million development of the additional infrastructure recently approved by government for expanding services provided by Derby Aboriginal Health Service. On Monday the 8th of June, the CEO and I met with Mr Shane Clancy, who is the consultant contracted by AIM Co, the new owners of the Kimberley Meatworks, to oversee and facilitate the development and expansion of that meatworks. These developments are to include a new rendering plant to handle the byproducts and production of tallow, along with expansion of the boning room, chillers and freezers. These new facilities will cost in the vicinity of $30 million for stage 1 and $48 million for stage 2 over the next couple of years. It is expected there will be up to 72 jobs, with the view to most of these being based in Derby or on site. Their plan is to commence trial operations in late 2026, with full operations set to commence in the first quarter of 2027, with a seasonal operation of 48 weeks per year. The CEO, Director Community Planning and I travelled to Fitzroy Crossing on Tuesday the 8th of June. We met with the officer in charge of the Fitzroy Crossing Police Station, Mark Howell. We discussed issues around ongoing provision and maintenance of CCTV cameras, which Mark stated were an invaluable tool for them in preventing crime and apprehending perpetrators of crime in town. We agreed to ongoing joint advocacy for maintaining CCTV in Fitzroy Crossing and current issues with youth crime in town, and our shared concerns around the loss of court processes in Fitzroy Crossing and the negative impacts on all those involved with court process. I would also like to take this opportunity to congratulate Mark Howe and his team for being awarded the Best Regional Team and the Brilliance in Policing team at the recent Police Awards night. Well deserved. While in Fitzroy Crossing, we met with Councillor Davis and discussed the need to establish a local emergency management subcommittee branch process in Fitzroy Crossing, possible improvements in the flood or other warning systems for valley communities, evacuation capacity of the school, and our consultation with community in relation to the existing Fitzroy Crossing Hall and future developments for this facility. After lunch, we met with Brenton, the CEO of Marrawarra, and the Chief Operating Officer, Nathan. We attended to finalisation of the lease to Marrawarra of spaces within the Visitor Centre, which includes the provision of office space for the Department of Transport and future use by Bunuba Aboriginal Corporation. Last Thursday, on the 18th of June, I met with Dr Shane Silcox, the consultant undertaking our CEO performance review process, followed up by a meeting on Friday 19th of June with Councillor Umbagai as part of the CEO Review Committee. Deputy President O'Meara, also on the CEO Review Committee, could not attend, but who was able to have input with Dr Silcox in relation to the recommendation to be presented to Council tonight. I attended the Kimberley Zone meeting via Zoom on the 19th of June at 9 a.m. We reviewed the state agenda being considered by West Australian Local Government Association later this month, with particular focus from me on the need to identify and understand the differences between Northern and Southern Shires in relation to the provision of health services and concerns being raised by the Shire of Wyndham East Kimberley regarding the loss of funding to independent health provider services. I also ask that the item relating to issues of homeless people in our communities also look at the roles and responsibilities of government departments in regional communities. The minutes for the zone meeting have, I believe, been circulated or will be. The issue of increasing rates exemption applications under the Australian Charities and Not-for-Profits Commission were also a discussion point and are a growing concern for all local governments, but in particular regional local governments where a large majority of homes are social housing and deemed as not-for-profit organisations. The Kimberley zone has an established advocacy position to be included in the next state agenda, and further follow-up is proposed to be undertaken in commuting this directly to state and federal government. The councillors, you will have received also the additional letter that was put out by the Shire Broom subsequent to that zone meeting. They were having difficulties communicating through the course of that zone meeting, so I thought it important you get that circulated and sent out. I have one other item I just want to touch on briefly that you've also received information on, just so you've got some background on it, and happy to discuss further if anyone would like to. I don't know whether you have or have not heard from any of our community in regards to the cost of insurance in the Kimberley and other remote areas. The ACCC has come down with the final report on a process that was first put in place by the Commonwealth Government at the request of Regional Development Australia and the Kimberley Regional Group in relation to the fact that we have enormous issues with the cost of insurance. Trying to insure housing and businesses is astronomical, and an insurance pool was a subsequent result of that was supposed to provide a solution in that that insurance pool would alleviate the burden on individual insurance companies and reduce the cost of insurance. Unfortunately, I've got to say to you, that's not my understanding of where we've got to. There are still significant issues with the cost of insurance, particularly in cyclone-related and flood-prone areas. But where we go with that from this point forward, I'm not too sure at the moment. I believe that the Regional Development Australia and the KRG will continue to pursue that line, but it's not what I think everyone else hoped to be the outcome. Right. Moving on with the agenda, councillors. 13, recommendations and reports of committees. 13.1, Local Emergency Management Committee. Minutes for the meeting on the 14th of April 2026. The recommendation is on page 10 and reads that Council received the minutes of the Local Emergency Management Committee meeting held on the 14th of April 2026. Can I have a mover, please, councillors? Councillor O'Meara, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications? Nil. I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. Laurie, thank you. 7-0. Carried 7-0. Minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee, item 13.2, held on the 21st of May 2026. Recommendation on page 16 reads that 1. Council received the minutes of the Audit, Risk and Improvement Committee meeting held on the 21st of May 2026, and 2. Adopt those recommendations. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt, seconded. Councillor Umberguy. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nil. I put it to the vote. All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Thank you. Reports, Executive Services, 14.1. The Consultation Draft Fitzroy-Derby Water Resources Management Plan. Recommendation is on page 73. Reads that Council 1 endorse the letter responding to the Consultation Draft Fitzroy-Derby Water Resources Management Plan provided by the Department of Water and Environmental Regulations, which generally supports outcome 1 through to 8 of the plan with some questions and points of clarification. 2, direct the Chief Executive Officer to submit the letter to the Department of Water and Environmental Regulation. Can I have a mover, please? Moved Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor O'Meara. Questions and clarifications on that item? Nil, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Item 14.2, Derby Port, transfer of management to Kimberley Ports Authority. Recommendation is contained on page 82, reads as follows. Excuse me a second. That Council by absolute majority, 1, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the Port of Derby agreement for the surrender of the port management lease, the termination of the port management agreement and grant of a new lease over the boat ramp area and recreational area. 2, approve the disposal of associated assets as identified in the Port of Derby agreement for the surrender of the port management lease, the termination of the port management agreement and grant of a new lease over the boat ramp area and recreation area. 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the deed of surrender of port management lease and termination of port management agreement, Port of Derby. And 4, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the Port of Derby, boat ramp area and recreation area lease and licence. And 5, direct the Chief Executive Officer to ensure ongoing consultation with Kimberley Ports Authority to ensure community and recreation use of the jetty and boat ramps. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications, councillors? Nil, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. Carried 7-0. Item 15, Corporate Services, 15.1, Adoption of the Draft Annual Budget 26-27. Recommendations commencing on page 89. Recommendation that Council by absolute majority, 1, adopt the following general rates and minimum payments on gross rental and unimproved value. General rate category rate in the dollar, GRV 0.16002, minimum payment $1,745. UV 0.14829, minimum payment $742. And 2, note under section 6.34 of the Local Government Act 1995, the revenue estimated to be yield by the general rates imposed for the 26-27 financial year will be 100% of the draft 2026/27 annual budget deficiency. Mover for that, if you wouldn't mind, councillors. Thank you, Councillor Galt. Seconder, Councillor Umberguy. Any questions or clarifications? Nil. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Thank you. Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council by absolute majority approve the following due dates for the payment of rates in full and service charges by instalments. Rate notice issue date 15th of July 2026. Full payment due date 19th of August 2026 or 35 days after the date of issue appearing on the rate notice, whichever is the latter. 2 payments option, first instalment 19th of August 2026 or 35 days after the date of issue appearing on the rate notice, whichever is latter, including all arrears and half the current rates and service charges, and second instalment 17th of November 2026 or 3 months after the due date of the first instalment, whichever is latter. 4 payment option, first instalment 19th of August 2026 or 35 days after the date of issue appearing on the rate notice, whichever is latter, including all arrears and a quarter of the current rates and service charges. Second instalment 20th of October 2026 or 2 months after the due date of the first instalment, whichever is latter. Third instalment 21 December 2026 or 2 months after the due date of the second instalment, whichever is latter, and fourth instalment 15th of February 2027 or 2 months after the due date of the third instalment, whichever is latter. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt. Seconded. Councillor Umberguy. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council by absolute majority pursuant to section 53 of the Cemeteries Act 1986 Regulation 53 in brackets 2 of the Building Regulations 2012 and section 67 of the Waste Avoidance and Resources Recovery Act 2007 adopt 1. Private swimming pool inspection fee of $78. 2. The fees and charges for the Derby and Fitzroy Crossing cemeteries be set as per the adopted fees and charges schedule of 2026-27. And 3. The following charges for the removal and deposit of domestic and commercial waste. As follows: residential premises. General waste service per week. Annual charge includes 240 litre bin collected weekly. Amount $1,072. Additional service charges. Annual charge includes additional 240 litre bin collected weekly, $1,209. GST is not applicable. Commercial premises. Commercial waste service annual charge includes 240 litre bin collected weekly, $1,538. Additional service charges, annual charge. Additional 240 litre bin collected weekly, $1,728. Commercial waste service annual charge, additional service per day/week, $1,209. GST is not applicable. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor O'Meara, seconded. Councillor Galt. All those in... any questions, clarifications? All those in favour?
Just one.
Councillor Cornish.
Just through the chair, does that still mean there'll be 2 bin collections during the wet season?
Through the chair, yes.
Yep. Any other questions or clarifications, councillors? All those in favour? Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council adopt the following rates, payments, incentive scheme prize draw for the 26-27 financial year. the prize draw with a total value of $5,000 funded from Municipal Fund for 10 prizes of $500 each. Mover for that, please. Councillor O'Meara, seconded Councillor Galt. Any questions or clarifications? All in favour? Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council, by absolute majority, 1, adopt an instalment administration charge where the owner has elected to pay rates, in brackets, service and service charges, through an instalment option of $22 for each instalment after the initial instalment is paid. 2, adopt an interest rate of 5.5% where the owner has elected to pay rates and service charges through an instalment option. 3, adopt an interest rate of 11% for rates, in brackets, and service charges, and cost of proceedings to recover such charges that remain unpaid after becoming due and payable. 4, adopt an administration fee of $65 to be imposed on any ratepayers who wishes to negotiate a rate special arrangement. And 5, adopt a rate of interest of 11% applicable to any amount of money owing to the local government, in brackets, other than rates or service charges. Can I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Galt. Seconded, Councillor Cornish. Questions or clarifications? Nil. I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hand. Carried 7-0. Recommendation, fees and charges, that Council by absolute majority adopt the fees and charges schedule for 26-27. Mover for the recommendation, please. Councillor Galt. Seconded, Councillor O'Meara. Any questions or clarifications? I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Recommendation. Council members' fees and allowances. That Council, by absolute majority, adopt the following annual fees and allowances for payment to Council members. A. Attendance fees, President, $17,238. B. Attendance fees, Council member, $17,238. C. President allowance, $17,825. D. Deputy President allowance, $4,456. E. Telecommunication allowance per Council member of $500. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cornish, seconded. Councillor Umberguy. Any questions or clarifications? I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council adopt the level to be used in statements of financial activity in 2026-27 for reporting material variances being 10% or $30,000, whichever is the greater amount. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Move, Councillor Galt. Seconded, Councillor Umberguy. Any questions or clarifications? I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council by absolute majority approve the establishment of the following new cash reserves pursuant to Section 6.11 Local Government Act 1995. A. Emergency Works Reserve, to be used to fund emergency works required as a result of natural disaster. B. Office Equipment Reserve, to be used to fund future information technology requirements. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications? Nil. I put it to the vote. Raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Recommendation that Council by absolute majority adopt the statutory draft annual budget 2026/27, including 1. Statement of comprehensive income. 2. Statement of cash flows. 3. Statement of financial activity. 4. Notes to and forming part of the budget, in brackets, including schedule of fees and charges for 26/27. Can I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Cornish. Seconded, Councillor Galt. Any questions or clarifications? Nil, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands, please. Carried 7-0. Item 15.2, Council Policy Management. Privacy Statement, Policy Adoption. Recommendation on page 137. That Council by absolute majority, 1, adopt the draft Privacy Statement policy. 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to make any relevant amendments, formatting or other minor wording changes to the policy. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Galt. Seconded, Councillor Umberguy. Any questions or clarifications? Nil, I put it to the vote. All those in favour, raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Item 15.3, accounts for payment for May 2026. Recommendation that Council accept the list of accounts for May 2026 totalling $2,874,781.71. Can I have a mover, please? Move, Councillor Cornish. Seconded, Councillor Umberguy. Any questions or clarifications? All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 7-0. Community Services, item 16, there is nil. Item 17, Development Services. Item 17.1, councillors. In regards to this recommendation on item 17.1, Derby District High School has publicly notified the community that the proposed event at the Derby Airport Function Centre has been cancelled. The report will not be tabled at this time for decision. Infrastructure under 18.1. Award of tender T625/T626, provision of cleaning services for buildings and facilities in Fitzroy Crossing. Recommendation is on page 177. The Council by absolute majority, 1, award tender T6-25/26, provision of cleaning services for buildings and facilities in Fitzroy Crossing to Cleaning, Gardening and Tree Services, and 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract in accordance with the scope of works within the tender. Have a mover, please. Councillor Cornish, seconded Councillor Galt. Any questions or clarifications? Nil. I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. Carried 7-0. 18.2, award of tender T7-25/26, provision of cleaning services for buildings and facilities in Derby. Recommendation is on page 182. That council by absolute majority, 1, award tender T7-25/26, provision of cleaning services for buildings and facilities in Derby to the trustee for Shipper Family Trust, and 2, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute the contract in accordance with the scope of works within the tender. Can I have a mover, please? Moved Councillor Galt, seconded Councillor Cornish. Any questions or clarifications? Nil. I put it to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Carried 7-0. Item 19, matters for which the meeting may be closed. 20, recommendation that council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with section 5.23 in brackets 2 of the Local Government Act 1995. Item 20.1. Yep, thank you. So, councillors, I'm looking for a mover that we close the meeting. Thank you, Councillor Cornish. Seconded. Councillor Caraher. All those in favour? Carried. Move 7-0. Thank you. On behalf of Council, I would like to take this moment to thank the CEO for her and her team's hard works and effort, but in particular the CEO. Since we became councillors in October, you've managed to bring us up to speed relatively quickly, although as just evidence then we still make a few blunders. But yes, look, all jokes aside, I think your review supports what I'm saying here, and we look forward to working with you over the next 12 months and longer. Thanks, councillors. Yeah, I'm about to. And I will now close the meeting at 6:25 p.m. Thank you. Next meeting is the ordinary meeting of council will be held at 5:30 p.m. Thursday, 23rd of July 2026 at the council chambers, 31 Clarendon Street, Derby. Thank you.